What's going on, Mr. Vegas? I hope you had a good time out in Vegas. Your brother seemed to have a pretty good weekend. Had to work a little harder than he wanted to, but I'm sure it was fun out there, and he did a pretty good job. So, what I'm going to start off with today is the problems that you struggled with on the homework. I checked the whole homework. You did pretty good. The only thing I'm going to say is I want you to get in the habit of showing the work. I know it's really easy. It sounds like a pain, but showing the steps of what you're doing when we get to multiple step equations will make life easy. So even though it's a simple addition or subtraction, show what you're doing. So when we get to the more difficult ones, we're good to go. For number 16, it's a little unique because you would assume we divide by 4, but that's the trick. What am I trying to get by itself? X. What do I have to get rid of? 12. What is 12 linked to x by? Multiplication. How do we undo multiplication? Division. So I'm going to go ahead and divide by 12. Then I'm going to divide this by 12. And I get x equals 4 over 12. Now I can just go ahead and reduce that fraction. Okay, so x would be equal to 1/3. This is an important reason why we need to show our steps. The next one, right? Negative 10x equals 5. What do I have to do to get x by itself? Get rid of the negative 10. It's linked by multiplication, so I divide. Negative 10 divided by negative 10 is 1. So we get x. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. So you get 5 over negative 10. But we need to know that you can reduce this and get negative, that would be negative 1 over 2. Divide numerator and denominator by 2. And a positive divided by a negative, no matter what, is a negative, so it's negative 1/2. Now 24, you did the first part of it, you did pretty good, right? You are going to multiply by 3. That cancels out, but what does it leave me with over here? 2x. I have to multiply the other side by 3, and I get 2x equals 27. Now, all I do is divide by 2, and x is equal to 13.5. Okay, now 28, the product of negative 6 and a number. If we don't know the number, what do we use? X. What does product mean? Product means multiplication. So they're basically saying if I take negative 6 and x, I multiply them together, the is tells me it should equal, right? Remember, is means equal, negative 18. What do I do to get x by itself here? Divide by negative 6, and x is equal to 3. Okay, now 2/3 of a number x is 12. Find x. 2/3 is written as 2 over 3. Of means multiplication. A number x, so it's 2/3 times x equals 12. Now, like the problem up above, first thing we do is we get rid of the denominator by multiplying by it. Those cancel out. We get 2x equals 12 times 3 is 36. And now, when I divide by 2, I get x equals 18. If you're still having trouble with this, let me know, and we'll definitely find a time to meet up. So let's talk about the next lesson. The next lesson is solving two-step equations. It's very similar to what you just did, but it's got a little more to it, okay? Now, right away, whenever we solve two-step equations, it means you're going to have to do two operations to get x by itself. Our first step is always to undo any addition or subtraction. Okay, that's number one. Once you do that, then you can go ahead and basically undo any multiplication or division. Okay, but the key is to always undo addition or subtraction first. So let's take a look at this. So when I look at this, I see 5x plus 9 equals 24. So my goal is to get x by itself. And in order to make this happen, I have to get rid of two things, 5 and 9. which one do I undo or get rid of by addition or subtraction? That would be the 9. So how do I get rid of it? Since it's positive and it's linked by addition, I'm going to subtract it. I'm going to go to the other side of the equal sign and do the same thing. I bring down the 5x, the 9's eliminate, equals 24 minus 9 is 15. Now that I have 5x equals 15, now 5 is linked to x by multiplication. How do I get rid of it? I divide, and x is equal to 3. Now again, I know you could basically probably do a lot of this without showing the minus 9 and without showing the divided by 5. But for now, every worksheet you do, I want you to practice it. Organization is key down the road. Now the next one, not much different. How do I get rid of, what do I have to get rid of first? The 3. How do I get rid of it? I subtract it. But again, what we have to keep in mind here is the signs. Okay, so what is negative 12 minus 3 going to give me? So I get negative, bring down the 5x. 3 is eliminate. Negative 12 minus 3 is equal to negative 15. And now I can get rid of the negative 5 by division. And x is equal to 3. And we are done. Okay, it's keeping track of your signs and staying organized and literally showing all of your work. Now the next one's a little tricky because if I look at this one, it's 6 plus 2x equals negative 24. Now this one is generally not as bad as the next one, but since this 6 is positive and is linked by some form of addition, I'm going to get rid of it first. How do I make it add up to 0? I subtract 6. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to subtract the 6. These eliminate. Bring down the 2x equals negative 24 minus 6 is negative 30. Now I can go ahead and get rid of the 2 by division, and x is equal to negative 15. Okay, so again, we get rid of the 6 by subtracting it. We get 2x by itself. How do we get rid of the 2? Through division. Okay. Now, this one, I see this as a subtraction sign, right? But when we go to get rid of things here, we have to know the signs of what operations are linked by. Now, we read this as 3 minus 5x, but what's linked by the form 2x by addition or subtraction? It would be this 3. Now, a lot of kids will make the mistake of adding 3, but since this 3 is positive, I always take the sign to the left of it. That's positive 3. How do I get rid of it? I'm going to subtract it. What do I do to one side? I do to the other side of the equal sign. What do I have to bring down here? These eliminate, and I have to bring down the negative 5x equals negative 35. Now, how do I get rid of the negative 5? Through division. Those eliminate, leave me with 1x equals negative 35 divided by negative 5 is positive 7. Okay, a couple more examples here. These are easy two-step problems, so hopefully they don't give you too much trouble. Now, one thing I saw you do in the last worksheet that I really like is when I see the variable on the left hand or on the right hand side of the equal sign, I'm going to rewrite the problem by copying the right side, drawing my equal sign, and I'm going to bring the 6 to the right side. Now, what do I have to get rid of via addition or subtraction? That would be this 3, negative 3, sorry. How would I get rid of it? Well, since it's linked by a form of addition and is negative, what do I have to do to make it add up to 0? I add 3. If I add 3 to that side, I add 3 to the other side. I bring down the negative 3n. That's the key part. Equals 6 plus 3 is 9. Now, how do I get rid of this negative 3? Since it's linked by multiplication, I divide, and I get n equals negative 3. Okay, so this one, again, we see this 12 minus x, but to get rid of this 12, since it's positive, I'm going to subtract it. Those should add up to 0. What do I bring down here? I bring down my negative x. What do I do to one side? I do to the other. 11 minus 12 gives me negative 1. And what you have to understand is there's that imaginary 1 here. Okay, so negative 1x equals negative 1. Divide by negative 1. And x is equal to positive 1. Okay, now again, you could always check your answer. 12 minus what would give you 11? Well, obviously that would be 1. Okay, but I want you showing your step to solve these equations. So here, again, we always get rid of addition or subtraction first. So what's linked to this p, right, by addition or subtraction on the left side of the equal sign? The 12 is. How do I get rid of it? I subtract it. What I do to the left side, I come over, I do to the right side, and now I have p over 2 is equal to 24 minus 12 is 12. But now, this 2 is linked to p by division. How do I undo division? I multiply by that denominator. These eliminate and or reduce to give you 1, so I'm left with p. If I multiply the left side by 2 and multiply the right side by 2, and that gives me 24. Again, I want you showing all of these steps. Okay? So here, just like the other ones, I look, here's my addition sign. All right, what is linked to this x by addition? It's the negative 4. How do I get rid of it? Since it's negative and I want it to add up to 0, I add 4. What I do to the left side of the equal sign, I do to the right side. These add up to 0, so bye-bye. And I bring down the x over 4 equals negative 2 plus 4 is 2. Now, how do I get rid of the 4? Since it's linked to x by division and it's in the denominator, I'm going to multiply by 4. I'm going to multiply by 4. And what do I bring down? The x. And what is 2 times 4? It is 8. Okay? So here it says 8 less than 3 times a number is 13. So you're 8 less than 3 times a number. So first thing you're going to start with is 3 times a number. And since you're 8 less than that, what are we going to do? Less than means we're going to subtract it. And that is means equals. That's key. That's your equal sign. So it's equal to what? 13. Now, if I want to solve this equation, what do I get rid of by addition or subtraction? The 8. Since it's minus 8, I'm going to add it. I come over here, I add it. 3x equals 21. Now, how do I get rid of this 3? I divide by 3, and what does x equal? X is equal to 7. Okay? Okay. So the 15-minute time limit is coming up in this last problem. For some reason, it didn't transfer all the way because it's not complete. But if you had to talk about it, it says Kim has a job where she makes $8 per hour plus tips, right? So say I told you you made $10 in tips, right? And you made, let's see here, $42 total. right? How many hours did